So today we're going to be doing a very unique video, and it will be every Sith Lord character that Hasbro has released in Star Wars action figure history. It's a video I've been wanting to make for about over a year now, and finally getting around to it. It's not a subject that I see anyone ever talk about either. I don't know if anyone's ever brought up to discussion how many Sith Lords has Hasbro actually made, or how many of the characters have they actually made. In this case, I believe there's 17. What you see here is what I consider to be officially Sith Lords. They fit into the Sith lineage. I know some people say, oh, where's like Savage Opress, or maybe Vader's Apprentice, or Asajj Ventress, or characters like that. I don't think they're considered Sith per se. They're more of Dark Jedi or Sith Assassins. In some ways, you could articulate Darth Maul here as he's technically not a Sith Lord either. He's more of a Sith assassin. But these are the 17 that I think fit very well in the Sith lineage. And we're going to go through each and every single one and point them out and talk a little bit about them. So we'll start with the furthest back that Hasbro has released over the years, and that is Exar Kun here. So his character is about from the Tales of the Jedi comic book series back in the mid-90s, and it takes place about 40 or 50 years before the Knights of the Old Republic games. And Exar Kun is actually the first character to be featured with a double-bladed lightsaber. You can take his lightsaber here and do a double blade with it. So about 5 or 6 years before Darth Maul debuted on screen with his double blade lightsaber, we already had a character in Star Wars that featured it. And this is also probably one of the rarest action figures that you can get in the Hasbro Star Wars line. It's very ridiculous the prices that this one and his counterpart go for. It is part of the one of the last comic book pack waves that was released back around 2009 and 2010, along with Terra and Thome, and plus the Routine Valor clone pack as well. It's a very nice action figure, lots of good detailing. Outside of the Knights of the Republic games, I haven't read too much about Exar Kun. I do recall there is a story where Luke Skywalker in one of the Masasi temples on Yavin encounters the spirit of Exar Kun, and I believe his spirit is trapped forever in the tomb. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've looked into it. You can see he has a little bit of marking on his head there. You could say as well that Exar Kun has a little bit of a similar story to Revan, where he was a highly respected Jedi, especially among the Jedi Council, promising student and whatnot, and then he tragically falls to the dark side and becomes this grand Sith Lord. And of course we have the Exar Kun War that is referenced every now and then in the Knights of the Old Republic game. Then next up on our list is what was supposed to be his apprentice, and that is Ulic Qel-Droma. As you can see, both action figures, I don't think they're based off of their Sith Lord appearance, or when they fell to the dark side at least. I'm not sure if Ulic ever officially became a Sith or not. I think it was, I know he was supposed to be Exar's apprentice, but I'm not sure what really developed to that. But both of these appearances in action figure form that we see, I believe, are based off their Jedi appearance, or at least during that transition period. Again, another highly sought after action figure, very hard to get a hold of for whatever ridiculous reason. Just those last few waves of the comic packs didn't make their way around, and of course, being EU characters, they're highly sought after. I do know Ulick, at least a recording or his spirit of him appears on Renvar in the original Clone Wars game back around 2002. Anakin Skywalker encounters him along the way. And again, he's from the same series as Ulick, the Tales of the Jedi book series. Again, I'm not too familiar with a lot of the details surrounding Ulick, just that he was another highly respected Jedi who fell to the dark side, and I do know he was slated to be Exar Kun's apprentice, at least, if he was not already. Kind of similar to Malik. Lots of good detailing on this action figure. Really like how they have it shredded up with his skirt there. Very nice paint detailing overall. And it's a great action figure as well. Next up in the lineage, we have Darth Revan. This is from the 30th anniversary collection. I recall seeing this back in the day on Christmas Eve of 2007. I saw this one and Malik back there, both at Kohl's for $7.99 each. And I passed up on it because at the time, you know, you're a kid and Christmas Eve and all that, people don't like it when you buy action figures, which they consider toys, the day before Christmas. So I ended up passing up on it, unfortunately. And then several months later, I ended up getting both of these, but unfortunately I had to pay a little bit more than $7.99 each for them. So I've had these since probably around early 2008 or so. Again, another two between him and Malik. They're both highly sought after action figures. The main heroes and antagonists of the Knights of the Old Republic series, without going into too much detail as to what their story is. Basically, Revan's the master of Malik. Again, two highly decorated Jedi, highly respected by their masters, and unfortunately they fell to the dark side. Not exactly sure as to exactly why. In the game, it goes in detail about how they ventured into the unknown regions and then they came back with the Sith Armada. Which is, if you played the Old Republic game, I suspect they went to the planet of Dromund Kaas and somehow were corrupted by the dark side. This particular Revan was revealed by Hasbro a couple years ago to be released in the vintage collection, the same exact action figure, and there was a lot of fan backlash and it was put on hold. Hasbro's team claims that they completely forgot about the action figure that was supposed to be released because of team changes. It went from Steve Evans to Patrick Schneider. I don't really buy that excuse. I think it's they just wanted to hold off for a newly tooled Revan, which is what the remake, who knows what the future of the remake is at this point, but I do think at some point we will get an entirely newly tooled Darth Revan for the vintage collection. Great detailing on him as well. I know a lot of people aren't too happy with this action figure because of the lack of articulation, the amount of plastic he has, but I think it's a good action figure for what it is. Serves its purpose. I think it looks pretty close to Revan, at least how he appears in the game. Something interesting I'll show is you could take his hood off and he has this bald head for whatever reason. So another great action figure, one I would highly recommend for you if you do not have already. Again, he is an expensive action figure, and Malik is here as well. Of course, as I said, Malik is the apprentice to Darth Revan, and the main antagonist during the first Knights of the Republic game. It's a good action figure overall. I don't think they got his stature too right. He seems a lot shorter than what he appears to be in the game, and he seems to tower over most people in the game, but this one he seems to be about average height. So hopefully we get a new 3 3/4 inch Malak eventually. The Black Series, at least at this time of the video, is slated to get a new Malak very soon. So hopefully the TVC gets the same exact treatment. He does lose his jaw in a duel with Revan at some point when it was Sith Master and Apprentice. And you can actually take that, take this piece off. And it reveals a little bit of detail to that voice modulator for Malak. It's interesting that Hasbro went to all that detail to, or went to all that trouble to put this detail in, which is nice. But overall, it's a nice action figure. Again, it's not the most articulated action figure in the world, and his plastic cape here can hinder him somewhat, but again, it's a very good action figure for what it is. It is 15 years old at the point of this video, so I think it's very good for its time, and it still holds up pretty well today. Next up we have from the Knights of the Republic 2 game, and that is Darth Nihilus here. Again, another fan favorite, especially among the EU fans. Very unusual Sith Lord. As far as I know, Darth Nihilus, as I've seen him described, he's just the mask, and that's all. Basically, he's like a walking spirit in a way that corrupts and consumes all life around him. He was once a man, as Kreia from the game says. Again, it is a great action figure overall, lots of good detailing, but I do think he is a little bit shorter than, again, how he appears in the game. He towers over everybody in the game, and he's not quite as poofy robes, I think. I like how they have his cape shredded up like this. Kind of like he's a ghost or a spirit in some way. You can't take his hood off. It's very difficult, but it does reveal braided hair in the back. And again, it just shows you how interesting Hasbro was back in the day, where they would go to all this trouble to put detail into things that typically will never even be seen. I think if Hasbro was making Darth Nihilus in today's world, they'd probably just sculpt the hood and sculpt the face, and that's it. It wouldn't be removable at all. But Hasbro actually went to all the trouble where you can take this off. It is very difficult. It can take some time. I'm not going to do that today. Save that for another review, another day. But it's really cool how they did that. I like how they sculpted his hand too, almost like he's using the Force in some way. Definitely one of my favorite villains from the game. Knights of the Republic 2 could arguably be one of my favorite games. I personally like it better than the first game. It's just a very deep story, very philosophical. Never get tired of it. Next in the line we have Darth Malgus here. I talked about him in my top 10 for the vintage collection a couple weeks ago. Great action figure as well. He appears in the Old Republic game, the main antagonist. I think he's one of those EU characters that has transitioned over into the Disney canon. As far as I know, in some of the Darth Vader comics, he's highly respected by Darth Vader because of, in a way, he's kind of similar to Vader, where, of course, they're both Sith Lords, but they both have these breathing apparatuses, and they were both injured, and they both had to live as Sith Lords with these injuries. As far as in-game, I have played the Old Republic game. I have completed the Jedi Consular storyline, but I probably saw Malgus in the game for a grand total of like 1 minute. And I haven't read any of the Old Republic books so far, so I'm not 100% familiar with this character. But just from what I've seen of the trailer and a few scenes here and there, he does seem very interesting. And again, a very worthy action figure to have for your collection. Next up on the list is probably the most unknown Sith Lord of this bunch here, and that is Darth Phobos. She appears in the Force Unleashed game. I forget, I believe it was the extra scene in the Ultimate Sith Edition where you can explore the Jedi Academy. Or I think she's in the PlayStation 2 and Wii version of the game. If you didn't know, the Force Unleashed for PlayStation 2 and Wii are totally different from the Xbox and the PlayStation 3 and PC versions. And for whatever reason, they only included her in one of the versions. As far as I know, too, I did try reading about Darth Phobos a couple years ago, and there's really not a whole lot to say about her. It's just kind of a Sith Lord that basically appears in the one scene of the game and maybe a small backstory on Korriban, and that's about it. Can't really say much else. I do think she is a Sith Lord that takes place, I think, at least a few hundred years or maybe even a few thousand years before the original trilogy. It is a very nice action figure, though. She comes from the Force Unleashed pack that came out around 2010, 2011. I do recall it being a Toys R Us exclusive. She comes with a Star Killer, an Imperial Evil Trooper. I think she may have came with the Imperial Commandos. And the particular Star Killer she came with was the Lord Star Killer. I don't really consider Star Killer a Sith Lord, but that's kind of like the what if scenario if he killed Vader and replaced him. And lots of good detailing on this action figure. But yeah, that's Darth Phobos. And next we'll be starting to get into the Rise of the Sith era. And we'll start with Darth Bane. Along with Nihilus and Darth Maul here. He is in the Sith Legacy pack that came out between 2007 2008. I think it was part of the 30th anniversary line. If I recall correctly, I did get this pack at the time. I'm not sure if it was kind of released in that time between the end of the 30th anniversary line and the beginning of the Legacy collection. Focus there. This particular Darth Bane is based off his appearance in the second book, The Rule of Two. I have read that book series multiple times over. What you see here is what do they call that? Cortosis armor, I think it is. It has been several years since I've read the book series. But anyways, it's armor that basically it's alive and it protects him from any damage. He does lose it at the end of the second book. Can't take this off to reveal him. Not sure if Darth Bane really had a purple lightsaber though. Interesting thing about his character is he's kind of an anti-hero, where again he follows the storyline of basically he's just an average miner, and then he goes on to become a Sith trooper, and then goes on to become a promising student at the Sith Academy on Korriban, and then goes on to become the Sith Lord and establishes the rule of two. Very interesting book series. Highly would recommend reading it. And it's one of the few book series I've actually read multiple times over. Most book series I usually read once or twice and that's it. But this one I've probably read and listened to the audiobook several times. I really enjoy it. It's a good action figure for the most part. Not 100% accurate, I think, to Darth Bane, but it's pretty close. It would be nice if we get another action figure of Darth Bane in the future. Highly doubt it though, at least for the time being. But we'll see, you never know. Next we'll take a look at Darth Plagueis here. Very surprised we actually got an action figure of Plagueis, especially during the time we actually got a release of him. I think he was originally slated to be released in the vintage collection, but again, he was moved to the Black Series 3 3/4 inch line. I do recall seeing this at Walmart all by itself with Mara Jade, and I skipped on Darth Plagueis and I got Mara Jade at the time. And I really do like that Mara Jade action figure. I know a lot of people don't, but I did end up getting this action figure a couple years later. Paid a little bit more than what the retail was. I wish I did get that one that I saw at Walmart at the time, but oh well, that happens. We all do it. Again, it's a very nice action figure for the most part. Lots of good detailing. Very unique to see a Mune as a Sith Lord. A very skinny action figure as well. And one I would highly recommend for you. It does have this breathing tube here. Fits on him all right. I've seen some people where it's as loose as anything, but mine seems to stay in place all right. It's a little bit of red eyes there, if you can see. And his staff and his lightsaber attached to become one piece. And next we'll check out his apprentice, Darth Sidious, or Emperor Palpatine. This is the recently released Emperor that came out in the vintage collection. I really like this action figure. It's one of the best that's came out in a while, I think. I do have the other one that came with the throne room as well. But it's nice to have both variants. I think this is the one that should have came with the throne room though, and the more smiled face Palpatine that we got with the throne room should have been the standard release, I think. The camera does not seem to want to focus so much today. But great accessories overall. Great display piece. Again, he's readily available still in the vintage collection. I actually got this one for like $10 free shipping on eBay several months ago. And I'll mention this too, I'm only showing one of every character. Of course, we've gotten dozens upon dozens of Palpatines and dozens of Vaders released over the years, but I'm just showing one sample for each character. Next, we'll take a look at Darth Maul. Technically, his Palpatine's first apprentice. And for many years, this was actually the only super articulated Darth Maul we could get. He was released as part of the Sith Legacy pack with Bane and Nihilus. And for 5 years, he held the title as about the best Darth Maul until the Vintage Collection one came along. And it's still a very great action figure. The Black Series even has one now. I've said it before in my review of the Black Series Sith Apprentice Darth Maul that I believe this is highly based off that fan film Labyrinth of Evil that came out back in the day. Of course, I think in some of the comics, Darth Maul is training like this as well. I think in the Power of the Jedi line, we got an action figure similar to this as well. But today, it's still one of the best Darth Mauls I think you can get. It's one of my favorites, and it still holds up really good today. Next, we'll take a look at Darth Tyrannus here. Put that one to the side there. Now, if there's one action figure I think that really needs to be in the Vintage Collection like today, or yesterday even, it's Count Dooku or Darth Tyrannus. It's very unfortunate that we've gone on this long and we don't even have one of the main villains from Star Wars in the Vintage Collection up until this point. We've gotten so many Vaders, a couple Mauls, and several Palpatines, and even got Malgus, for example, but we don't have Tyrannus yet, unfortunately. I think when and if Hasbro ever decides to get around to it, I think it'll be a great action figure now that we have the photoreal tech and the tooling that Hasbro has these days. I think it'll be one of the best they ever make. And if I were to make a top 10 list of action figures I want in the Vintage Collection, this is probably number one I would pick. This particular one was released as a part of a 2-pack during the Legacy Collection. I forget what the other character it came with. Oh, it came with one of the Jedi that was featured in the Geonosis Arena. I totally forget which one it is. I don't have that one. I just picked this Dooku up by himself, loose, for like $25 on eBay. Today, it still is the best Count Dooku that you can get, which isn't saying a lot. It's an alright action figure, but Hasbro can definitely do better, especially since this is a 13-year-old action figure at this point. So I really hope they get around to it. I think the Revenge of the Sith Count Dooku is slightly better than this one. It can do a lot more, and it looks more accurate to Christopher Lee, I think. Then next we'll look at Palpatine's final apprentice and the man himself, Darth Vader. This is the 3 3/4 inch Black Series Darth Vader from Revenge of the Sith that was released around 2013. I actually got this for $5 at Walmart at the time. And up until the release of the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series Darth Vader, this was the best Darth Vader you can get as far as articulation goes. Of course, he has the hinged hips and he even has rocker ankles, which was a big deal at the time this was released. The helmet sculpt is extremely good as well. As you can see, mine's a little dusty. I don't really move the head very much because this is the first sample where the head does not stay on very well. Hopefully, if Hasbro ever does get around to re-releasing this in the Vintage Collection, which I think they could on a Revenge of the Sith card, hopefully they fix that. This is definitely a Vader that needs to get re-released at some point. It's extremely expensive online and there's no reason for it to be. And as good of an action figure this is, I think everyone needs another chance to get it. Then next we'll get into some of the Legacy of the Force series. We'll start with the master himself, Darth Krayt. Again, another iconic and sought after character from the EU. He was Asherad Het during the Clone Wars, and somehow I believe he was either put into a stasis or was resurrected in some way and brought back as Darth Krayt. And he was the son of Sharad Het, who was a Tusken. Kind of an interesting story that he used to be part of the Tusken Raiders and goes on to become a Sith Lord. Very unique looking action figure. He comes from the comic pack with Sigil Dare, which I do have that comic pack. I got it for like $90 on eBay about 6 years ago at this point, which is expensive, but for the price that this pack usually goes for, I thought it was a good deal, and it was hard to pass it up at the time. And if you have the cash, and if it's something you really want, definitely would recommend it. He doesn't hold this lightsaber at all in this hand unless you have a rubber band around his hand there. Mine's degrading over time, or elastic band I should say. I fear that at some point it's going to start breaking off and then his lightsaber is going to fall off. And unfortunately he won't be able to hold it again unless I put a new one on. But sometimes it's hard to get those elastic bands in place. Can take his helmet off here. And his shoulder armor comes off as well. Let's see here. Very nice head sculpt. Definitely looks like a Sith Lord. And then we're down to our last few. Next we'll take a look at Darth Talon. She was released with Kate Skywalker in the comic book line. Not too hard of an action figure to get a hold of. Sometimes it can be extremely expensive, other times not. I think I got this on a good deal several years ago. And it's probably not a character that Disney is going to promote so much these days, but who knows. It'd be nice if we can get more of Darth Talon in the future, but I'm not holding my breath over it. Lots of good detailing. Definitely a fan favorite. Not the most articulated action figure, like she doesn't have anything in her elbows at all, but it's still a very nice display piece. And then next we'll take a look at Darth Nil here. He comes with one of the very last comic packs as well with Delia Blue, who's the counterpart to Kate Skywalker. Don't know much about him or much about his backstory. He kind of looks like a character from Lord of the Rings, like he's part of the Uruk-hai. Very interesting lightsaber as well. Keep in mind, if you do have this or you want to get him, his blade can break very easily off his, I would assume, his hilt here. And I have seen a lot of broken samples sold on eBay, so just watch out for that and be careful with yours. Again, another expensive action figure for whatever reason. Could very well be the most expensive Sith Lord you can get out of all of these. A very nice one to own if you can find him. And then last is Lord Malaval here. I'm not sure if he's necessarily considered a Sith Lord, but I figure very interesting to have a Sith looking Quarren. Wish it'd focus here. I wonder if those are teeth that he has sticking out there. He has what looks like an all-seeing eye on his chest there. Don't know much about this action figure at all. He did come with a pack with a group of stormtroopers as part of Joker Squad back around 2009 or 10 or so. He does come with this whip as well. Interesting accessory. I picked this up loose at a comic book store several years ago and got a really good deal on it. So happy to own it, and if you manage to find it for a good price, definitely recommend it. Another good display piece. Very unique Sith character to have for your collection. Again, not sure if he's a Sith Lord or not, but sometimes I see him referred to as Lord Malaval or Darth Malaval. But yeah, that's all the Sith Lords that Hasbro has released so far in its action figure history, to my knowledge. I will include a couple honorable mentions here real quick. I know some people will say, oh, what about this character? What about that one? But we'll throw in a few. You have Lumia here, who's sometimes referred to as the Dark Lady of Sith. She did come with a comic pack with Luke Skywalker. I'll do a review on it eventually. And she does have a light whip. Probably one of the oldest EU characters today. I think her character's been around since like 1980, 1981. And she was a partner to Luke Skywalker at one point. And she was in Emperor's Hand as well. I recall reading about her character in the Legacy of the Force book series several years ago. Thought she was a very interesting character. Next we'll include Tol Skor, who's a disciple to Count Dooku, or Darth Tyrannus I should say, similar to Ventress. And of course I'll include Ventress herself, the comic pack version. Came with Tol Skor here. Kind of reminds you of a Viking in a way. I have her wrapped around my Count Dooku, like how you see in some of the art. Then last, I'll include Vader's apprentice as well. Technically not a Sith Lord, but he's so closely affiliated with the Sith at one point that you might as well include him in the legacy somewhere along the line. But yeah, that's all 17 Sith Lords plus a few extras. I would highly recommend each and every single one of these action figures to you. Each one's unique. Each one has very unique tooling, except for Palpatine. But he's such a cool action figure that it's hard to pass it up. Again, these are not cheap. If I would hate to add the total of what the average market value is of all these put together, and it's outrageous. I do hope Hasbro gets around to re-releasing some of these someday. Probably the most affordable ones other than Palpatine would have to be probably Maul. Malgus is somewhat affordable time every once in a while. Sometimes you can find Lumia for a good price. Malik sometimes goes for like $30, $35. Even Nihilus I see go for not the most expensive, but other than that, most of them are like $100 plus. Bane here might be affordable as well, or somewhat more affordable than the rest. But it's a great group of action figures. Highly recommend each one to you. And I hope you found some value in this video. Again, it's not a subject that I see anyone ever discuss, so hopefully this gets brought to light and we can actually keep track of how many Sith Lords Hasbro has made over the years as far as characters. Of course, we got 500,000 Vaders and Palpatines and Mauls, but most of them that you see here, it's just the one and only action figure, and that's it. Revan will probably get another one eventually. But I hope you found some value in this video. Stay tuned for more in the future. I have plenty more reviews coming along the way and more unique videos like this. If you've subscribed to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. And if you have not already, please do, and like the video as well. And thanks for watching.